Ambassador, a lot has changed since we last spoke. The last time we sat here, Donald Trump was really singing your tune. And he was seeing the war in Ukraine very much through Russian eyes. He was humiliating Zelensky. He was saying Russia could keep much of the territory, that there would have to be a little bit of land swaps. Things seem to have changed a lot. He's now saying Ukraine could win back all its territory. What's gone wrong with the relationship?
Christian, I hardly can imagine that really President Trump has changed his position. Yes, we did hear what he has said. He likes to say some confrontational things about London or London's mayor and about United Nations. In fact, he has said that after the meeting with Zelensky, perhaps under the thinking about it. But at the same time, I have to state that not many has noticed that there is a conversation between our two delegations at the same time, between Marco Rubio and Lavrov, full scale for 1 hour a conversation, which has confirmed that we are on the same, more or less, let us see, on the same line as we discussed it in Alaska. In Alaska,
which is what?
In Alaska, certain thinking has been established, a line and consideration, which has together between President Putin and President Trump. It was about NATO and about not about territories. It has come. It was about people living, Russians that are living on the territory of Ukraine and which are discriminated very much, which cannot speak Russian, which cannot educate Russian, and so on. So this thinking, and I cannot go into details. It is too complicated. It has been delivered to Ukrainian side, and the Ukrainian side has completely rejected it. That is why we stand where we stand.
But the big sort of conclusion from Alaska seems to be at the time, there will be another meeting, there will be a meeting between Putin and Zelensky. What happened?
Everybody, those at least who more or less understand international things can imagine that if it will be an immediate cessation of fire, an immediate meeting between Putin and Zelensky, then it will be a good photo opportunity for Zelensky and nothing else, because there is no prepared ground for it, no prepared framework of agreement, and what we need is a long-term, sustainable or resilient agreement that takes into account interests of Ukraine, of Russia, of neighboring countries, as it has been before. Security is indivisible, and you cannot get more security for the sake of the others. So we need a platform, a common platform with Ukraine to discuss, first of all, then to come to a conclusion, not to go like that, but we need to go this way.
But Trump is saying he's very disappointed by Putin, that Putin has let him down. That he has a great relationship, but it doesn't make any difference. So he's clearly annoyed.
And so what?
Is that the point? Is that your position? So what? It doesn't matter.
Do you think we should be guided by his controversial statements each time? Not at all. We are in operation, a serious operation. Situation in Ukrainian conflict, it is fundamental interest for us. We needed to resolve it once and forever. It is not linked with European security or the other NATO countries. We have a problem with Ukraine.
But things seem to have gone backwards, don't they? I mean, because he's now talking about selling weapons to NATO. Trump is saying, we will keep selling weapons to NATO. Yeah. NATO can give those weapons to Ukraine, and Ukraine can fight Russia back. And, I mean, that's not progress, is it?
American military-industrial complex is happy. As you have seen, as soon as Trump has said that, rate of defense industry at stock exchange has gone up immediately after that. So what President Trump is doing is, of course, this is for the benefit of the military-industrial complex of the United States, and it is easy because they are selling now this weapon to for European money, and it's big money, really.
Yeah.
And
but it's bad for peace, isn't it?
Europe can do whatever it is. Europe is bringing it to Ukraine. Of course, this does not bring settlement closer. It is only delaying all of that. Ukraine continues to fight. It is now understaffed, of course. It is not the shortage of weapons in Ukraine. It is a shortage of people over there. Because at the moment, combat units are staffed less than half. It is around 47–48%. This is close to critical, I will say. They still have reserves, but these reserves are thinning out.
Right, but do you think, in fact, where Trump has ended up is good for Russia? Because the war carries on, you can keep fighting for territory.
No.
I mean, is he still effectively an ally?
What we really need it is, and I would like very much to stimulate United Kingdom and other leaders to think about what's going to happen, not tomorrow, not the day after tomorrow, but in a year time, because we need an agreement with overall agreement. 2 years ago, all European leaders were speaking about strategic defeat for Russia. Borrell, who was representing European Union, was always saying that this conflict will be resolved on the battlefield. Remember that? Yes. Then they were saying, let us not allow Russia to win. That was common slogan. What is today? Yeah. Today they are saying, let's stop immediately what is happening.
Well, they're not. That's what I'm saying. Hasn't it changed back to Ukraine can fight back? You know, we will arm Ukraine, Ukraine can drive Russia back, Ukraine can win its territory back. That's literally what Trump is saying now. So this is not helping any agreement, is it? There is no, there are no, I mean, are there any talks going on? There aren't.
Christian, this is of course very interesting, but every newspaper which I have read today, the main newspapers, they are very skeptical about what Trump has said, because he has said something, but he has done nothing about it and does not intend to do anything.
So do you think there is still a process of talks that can lead to an agreement?
Yeah, it is going on. The process of talks continues. We talk with Americans, we have meetings, with official meetings with them. We will continue this dialogue. We talk as well with Ukrainian, because we did have 3 rounds already of negotiations, which has brought some results in exchange of prisoners, in exchange of bodies, also children are also on the way. But we will continue this dialogue. We have made a suggestion together with the United States to Ukraine. The Kyiv authorities rejected it. So now we are waiting for the reaction, for the constructive reaction.
But just on the relationship between Trump and Putin, Trump always says he has a great relationship with Putin. Do you think of Trump as your friend?
Putin said nothing. He said that he highly estimates Trump, and he has a lot of trust. He understands his position. It is interesting position because it is not confrontational. What they have initially has told us that there are big powers. If these big powers has an agreement on certain areas, they should profit from this. And it will be very controversial not to profit from the joint project. If they have disagreement, you should not turn it into contradictions, into battle. You should talk and find some overlapping interests here.
Do you think he's useful?
It is very useful.
Is he useful?
It is very useful because the leaders of UK, France, and Germany are talking differently. Because when they see disagreement, they start confrontation.
So is this why Russia is testing NATO's military responses?
We are not testing. We have no interest at all in testing military responses.
So what are all these flights? Where have they come from?
Well, there are different episodes. They are not connected. And now it depends. What do you like? What do you like to do? The normal view is to enter into dialogue with us, and actually with facts, to present facts, it will prevent future incidents at all.
But just on the drones.
But on the drones. But the choice was different. The choice was not to enter into dialogue. The choice was to make a hysteria out of it. They are not connected, these episodes. To make a hysterical outcry and to say, oh, we need a joint defense, we need to prepare ourselves for war with Russia. They do not hear what we are saying. We have no interest at all. We have no targets in it.
Then why were Russian drones shot down in Poland?
Which one? In Poland. These were decoys, first of all. These were decoys which is called Herbera.
Sent by who?
They have no explosives on it. There are 2 theories about how did they occur to be. One is jamming, and this jamming will redirect these decoys in the other direction. They have fallen down on the earth over there without any damage to any construction. The second version, it could be, of course, a false flag operation. Ukrainians are very clever into that. They have done it quite a lot of it, and this redirection of decoys, Herbera decoys on Poland, is an attempt to involve Poland into a confrontation.
So you think Ukraine is behind all of these incursions?
I haven't said that. It might be occasionally. It might be occasionally an episode in Poland, occasionally jamming because of jamming, or intentionally as well.
What about Denmark, Romania?
I do not know what
all
about
of all of these incidents.
What about Denmark? Prime Minister of Denmark saying she does not exclude. She does not exclude that it is Russian.
Well, does Russia deny
anything, any facts, or it is, or it is unrelated? If she has facts, okay, show it to us. We will say. Estonia, okay, 3 of our aircrafts they followed normal route, which is absolutely clear, which we are following for many years via Baltics. From some airfield in Russia to Kaliningrad.
Because they said there was 12 minutes in Estonian airspace, didn't they?
There is a teeny Estonian island far away in the sea. You can see it on the map. So they are saying that it was close to this island. In fact, it was 3 kilometers out of this island. I'm not aware totally where this line of Estonia is over there, but it's 3 kilometers in the Baltics, far away from. I do not know. I have no facts on it. There's a statement of Ministry of Defense. If Estonians would like to discuss it, they can come to us. They are our neighbors. But instead of that, they are making an outcry and turning to NATO.
Because it doesn't really make sense, does it, for Russia to do all of this? I mean, because all you're doing is uniting NATO against Russia.
What we are doing is, NATO is, as far as I understand, is very much united. We do not need any external impulses to unite once more. They are always saying so that we would like to divide. We cannot divide NATO. So they have a treaty. They are working together. They have enormous number of committees.
But they're spending more. They're committing more. I mean,
no, it is natural for every Minister of Defense to ask for more money. Of course, it is now what they are trying to do is a wall of drones on Polish border after this failure with Herbert drones or another thing. Of course, there are different appeals from generals to prepare for war. It is, in our view, it is absolutely nonsense. We are not trying to find something. We're not trying to fight against NATO, find targets or whatever it is. And my president is always saying that. If they do not listen to it or to hear it, okay, turn to Americans. President Trump has said that he has already prevented the Third World War.
I mean, the trouble is we're back in a world in which neither side believes the other. You know, Russia denies any involvement in these incursions, and the West says, well, that's just Russia lying. And Russia similarly doesn't believe what Donald Trump says at the UN. I mean, this is not a good position for the world's powers to be in, is it?
My friend, it happens already for about 15 years. We tried in 2007, 2008, we tried to establish a European security treaty, all European, which will involve US, and so we were told that it is only NATO can have a legally binding treaty. You can, and this is beyond of that. We tried it several times later on, even before 2014. Last, what we have done, it was a serious proposal to NATO and to the United States in December 2021. Let's make a treaty. Let's once again reestablish truth, believe it. It was just phased out.
Okay, well, so put aside the incursions and the allegations. What about the war itself and the attacks on Ukraine? So, you know, Russia has mounted huge attacks on Kyiv. There have been civilian casualties again, women and children killed. How is that any statement of faith in an agreement? That's just killing.
You are seeing only one side, because it is Ukraine sent drones to Crimea these days. A day before, how many people? 7 people have, or more have died. They have bombarded civilian, purely civilian targets, where no military targets at all, and people died.
So does that make civilian targets justified?
No, we are targeting only military installation and defense industrial complex and relevant targets.
But you kill civilians along the way.
Things happen. Collateral damage happens in every operation, every war.
Isn't that a very cold way to think of it? Collateral damage is a very
there is
cold
no
phrase,
massive. This is not Gaza. In fact, it is not Iraq. There is no massive killing of civilians. As you mentioned, Gaza, 65,000 has been killed of civilians.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you about that. But I mean, the thing is, every so often, and Trump says this as well, he has a conversation with Putin, and then within a few days there is a massive attack on Ukraine, and it feels like bad faith.
It is not connected. It is one is a conversation with Putin. The other is we have said that we need to diminish military capacities of Ukraine, definitely, because they are growing it. They are growing it up. They're now making drones, totally new generation of drones in different parts of Ukraine. Ukraine has inherited a big part of the Soviet industrial complex, very big one. It is perhaps the biggest part of it. It was in Kyiv itself, inside Kyiv, in other cities which are pretty big and have these parts, and we have to destroy this because otherwise they will bring more forces.
Okay, well, I mean, if that is collateral damage, I mean, as you say, the majority of casualties are military, and both sides have suffered terrible losses. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands.
I have been asked this question very many times. My answer is very short, because it is only Ministry of Defense and General Staff of each country are aware about losses. Other things are speculation.
No, of course, I know you're not going to tell me how many, but
I don't know.
But we know there's a lot, because we see the bodies, we see the images, we see the explosions.
Yes,
I mean, is it worth it, really?
As I have said, these are really fundamental interests has been touched of my country, and this is relevant to possible membership of Ukraine in NATO. We cannot allow this. We cannot allow this. And when General Secretary of NATO Rutte is saying that we do not listen to Russia, Russia has nothing to do with it, he's wrong. He does not understand the fundamentals, really. Because this is neighboring countries, and every neighboring country has to take into account the interest of the other. You cannot live differently. It is your neighbor. So.
But you know what the other side to that is? People say, well, what does sovereignty mean if you are not free to make the alliances that you want to make? You have to.
Yeah, this is a very hypothetical question. You should.
Do you believe in the sovereignty of nations?
You can be sovereign, and at the same time you can be reasonable, and you can think about what you are doing, because it is you should not do silly things which will be controversial and hostile to your neighbors.
But the way you talk about Ukraine, when you say it cannot, is not respectful of their sovereignty, is it? So, Russia wouldn't tolerate people talking like that about Russia.
You perhaps didn't hear what I have said. It is, if there are neighbors living in a village, every neighbor will respect the other one's sovereignty, but at the same time the interest of him, yes, and he is not going to push him and invade him and try to kill him. In a case of Ukraine, we have got a breakthrough instrument against Russia. That was clear, because it has been constructed for many years. With involvement of course, Western capitals, sending special money over there, people, and growing up nationalism. This nationalism is destructive for security of the continent. It is still prevailing, this nationalism. Unfortunately, Zelensky, when he has come to power, he has said that his cause is peace. But 300 nationals, supporters of radical nationalism, changed his mind, and he has become very hostile to Russia.
So what does Russia want to do to change the view of those European leaders, including Starmer, who are now, as you say, speaking much more aggressively about what the future should be in terms of Ukraine, Russia? Do you want to engage them and try and bring them into the process you say is carrying on?
That will be a very happy result, but they do not want to get engaged. They are talking only to each other. But this process, talking only to each other, I mean European leaders, it is not a phenomenon of these days. It has started many years ago, I will say.
But are you saying Russia wants to talk to them?
If it will make sense, of course, yes, if it will make sense. They ceased to talk to us, this country especially, many years ago. You know that they are not inviting our politologists since, I will say, 2015, yeah. There are very small number of delegations that are coming mainly for international events, but not for bilateral conversations. And they listen only to each other and talk to each other. They're ignoring simply other point of views. So that's a problem.
You say a lot of these things have been said for many, many years. I mean, one of the more peculiar things that came out of the recent summits, particularly the one between Putin and Xi was this conversation about longevity, living to 150 years. Do you think that's really one of the interests of the Russian president? I think he really wants to...
Frankly speaking, this is the news for me that he
Well, do you remember that conversation? They were talking about the miracles of science and keeping people living. And if you could live to 150, Putin would be president for the rest of the 21st century.
Well, I'm not going to speculate about that.
Do you think that would be a good thing?
I can only say that at the moment his support is 80%, not like Steinmar's support here. I should say, I do not imagine that it can be that long, but why not? Of course, they have discussed many things with chairman of China. We have very good relations at the moment and very good mutual understanding together with India. You have seen what has happened in Shanghai, Shanghai organization, so the biggest powers has got together, and Americans were a bit jealous about that.
Can I ask you about Russia's position on the Gaza situation? In the last couple of weeks, we saw the UN Commission declare this as a genocide. Does Russia regard this now as a genocide?
It has certain features of genocide, not genocide. Genocide is, definition of it is different.
Well, the UN Commission said it was a genocide.
Features of genocide. I haven't seen recent things, but what I can say is what is going on in Gaza, this is awful, of course. It is absolutely unacceptable. This is terrible. We understand that Israel has a right for self-defense. But one should not punish all Palestinian people over there because of what has happened. And what is going on, it is undermined the concept that dominates international relations of two-state solutions. Everybody is saying that. We know that UK has has recognized Palestine. We have recognized it many, many years ago. And many countries are recognizing that Palestine should exist as a state. And we should work towards it. We should work to stop Israel, of course.
How do you think it can be worked towards?
How to stop Israel?
Yeah, how do you work towards a state? And how do you stop the war? I mean, does Russia, for example, think sanctions against Israel would be a good idea?
I do not know. I know that there are countries that are promoting this idea, Turkey for instance, but having United States fully backing Israel, it is difficult to do something. What's more important, of course, that United States should understand that it is an impasse, what is going on, that Arab countries are not going to accept what is happening over there, as far as I understand, and there should not be this plan E1, what is now under
the expansion
of it towards West Bank, of course. So this is a process, and there is a political process. I do not know whether it is helpful to it, but of course, the majority of countries will continue to press on it.
I mean, does Russia see itself as part of the process?
Yes, we do.
Of building
Absolutely.
A Palestinian state?
Just a conference in United Nations has just taken place a day before, and we aligned with other countries, also with Western countries, on that subject.
And does it support the Palestinian Authority?
We are talking to them. We understand that there will be changes in the Palestinian authorities. Palestine did not participate in UN, so we cannot, but they are frequent guests in Moscow, and we are talking to them.
How hopeful are you now that Russia can first bring an end to the war in Ukraine and come back into the international fold? You know, was Alaska significant in that respect, or was it a one-off?
Alaska was significant because we have a certain position in common in thinking with the United States. We agreed on certain elements of it, of the process. Then these, as you know, leaders of several European countries, including President Finland of European Union, has gone to Washington and tried to reconvince President Trump that he should not very much sides with Russia, and it means that they just tried to stop the political
But
process.
did you see that as Russia coming back into the international community?
We have, you mean Western community,
Western
of Western
international
countries,
community,
because you should just make a division between 2/3 or 3/4.
Sure,
Yes,
yeah.
of course. So that's, I do not know. We still have no conversation, no links at all. It is, I'm here representing Russia. We do not have a relationship with United Kingdom. We have contacts. We do have contacts with Foreign Office, but I do not recall recently and in the recent years serious conversation on Ukraine or political conversation.
Is it getting
on this
better or
situation.
worse, the relationship with Britain?
This is worse.
And it's still getting
I am
worse.
talking to journalists. I am talking to some people in the society here, in the society, but officials, they are silent. So I'm under impression they do not work out an instrument to stop the conflict. They are working an instrument how to reinforce Ukraine. But reinforcing Ukraine, it is wearing out Ukraine. It is becoming thinner and thinner in economical terms and especially in people's terms.
And if it's getting worse with Britain, do you think it's getting better or worse with the United States?
It is now definitely better with the United States because under Biden we didn't have a dialogue. Now we have a dialogue which is developing in different, especially with re-establishing of full-scale diplomatic relations, because many obstacles has been done by Biden administration, inherited now by Trump. So we are now in this process already. This process will then involve more serious things in economical field as well, of course.
And then the big question is Ukraine. Are things getting better or worse in terms of Ukraine now?
We have to reach our goals. Because we have already done quite a lot. We have initiatives all along the front. We have offensive action and attacking actions. In some directions it is slower, in some directions it is quicker, but we are moving all the time. What Ukraine is doing, it is in retreat. It is retreating every day. It is losing positions and retreating. It has no forces to act differently. All these ideas that Ukraine will come into offensive, this is fake.
So militarily you feel Russia is winning?
Militarily, we are moving slowly but steadily, of course, trying to avoid casualties.
But I mean, if you say that there is also a political process going on with the Americans, does that mean that there is actually hope for peace in Ukraine in the foreseeable future?
Yes. I will say that there is not only hope, but there is a possibility. But Ukrainian authorities should be realistic, because their position and their situation in terms of military situation on the ground, as well as on the political side, is worsening every day. They were in much better position a year ago in both of these aspects. Now their position every day it is reducing their position. If they will continue this trend, then their position and our proposal to the Ukraine will be much more moderate and of a smaller size than that, and they have to catch it.
Just finally, I mean, you say the relationship with Britain is worse and is getting worse. Do you think it would be better if Nigel Farage was the Prime Minister?
Excuse me.
Do you think that's a laughable proposition?
I'm ambassador to the king here and to the palace. It's not to Nigel Farage. I cannot speculate, otherwise I will be interrupted by the foreign officers.
So you don't have a relationship with him separately?
No. With whom? With Farage?
Yes.
No, I'm seeing what he is saying, but no. We do not maintain contacts with political parties, with none of them.
Ambassador, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for good questions. Yes.